Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Menahot, Mishnah, with the talking about Daf Yomi. Okay, Daf Samech Gimel Amud Aleph 63:1, starting the Mishnah. Haomer. Somebody comes and he says, Hare alai b'machvat. Imagine a person wants to bring a korban mincha. Remember the korban mincha, there's many different types of menachot. And one of them is called the machvat. And then there's the marcheshet. And then there's going to be different ones. So imagine a person comes and he says, Hare alai machvat. So he shouldn't bring the mincha, which is done in marcheshet. But marcheshet, he shouldn't bring the one that is going to be brought in the machvat. Right? Because obviously it's a different one. What is the difference in machvat and marcheshet? Marcheshet has a kisui. The machvat does not have a kisui. Meaning, one of them it's like a frying pan that has a cover, and one of them does not have a cover, right? So therefore, the machvat is a frying pan, mamash. So there's no cover. The marcheshet has a cover. Marcheshet is amuka. The marcheshet is deep fry. Umaaseh rochashin, and therefore it's going to be rach. Machvat it's safa, which means it's not deep. Umaaseh kashin, and therefore it becomes harder. Okay, says the Gemara. My Tama the Rabbi Yosef. What's the reasoning of the Rabbi Yosef? Ilim, if you're going to tell me now, marcheshet de atya archushe halev, that is coming because of rachashe halev, meaning on the hirhure halev, on that which you think. Kirichtiv rachash libi davar tov, rachash libi, your heart doesn't speak, it thinks. So therefore, rachash libi, rachash marcheshet is talking about the hirurim. Machvat is the atya machvoya peh, is on the mouth. Just like people say, menabach navuche, it's like barking like a dog, so it's menavach, it's the call of the peh. So imaipcha, say the opposite. Machvat, datya machvu alev, tichtiv lama nachbeta livruach, why do you want to, run away? And nachbeta over there is like when you go bechaveh is in hiding. Hiding is inside of your heart. Right? So he says, that his lips were moving, were speaking. So therefore, basically what we're trying to ask is that the Lashon of Marcheshet or the Lashon of Machvat, each one could be on Hirura Lev, and each one could be on Dibur. So the Gemara says, you're right, Ella Gemara Gemirale. Right? What does that mean? It's Alachal Moshe Sinai. We have a Kabbalah. When we have a tradition that basically that it's going to be the Marcheshet was mechuseh and the Machvat was without any type of a kisui. Rav Chanina ben Gamliel omer, right, two dots. Rav Chanina ben Gamliel says Marcheshet was deep. Tichtiv v'chol na'asa b'marcheshet. Machvat is safa, it's not deep. Tichtiv ve'al machavat. So Tanu Rabbanan, we learned to the right. Bet Shammai, when Bet Shammai say, "Haomer arei alai marcheshet." If a person comes and he says, "I'm going to have myself a marcheshet," yeh munachat shevo Eliyahu. It's going to be until Eliyahu Navi comes. Misafka lehu, and it's going to be Bet Shammai come and they're mistapek. Al shum kli nikreu, whether it's going to be on the name of the kli, right, or al shum ma'asehen, or because of their actions. Bet Hillel omrim, and Bet Hillel comes and he says, "Kli haya b'mikdash u'marcheshet shema." The kli was in the Bet Hamikdash and it's called marcheshet. V'domeh min klabus, right, and it's like a tav amok. U'shebatzek munach betoko. So when you had the batzek, like the dough inside of it, right, domeh min tapuchei bretim. It's like tapuchim, which are called, right, bretim is just the name of the place, or balutei yevanim, or the balutim, which are basically going to be these things that are grown on the alon yevanim, right? I don't know how it translates it in English. Okay, ve'omer, and it says v'chol na'asa b'malachesh v'machavat al mas. You see from here that when it says al shuma kelim nikru v'lo al shuma ma'asem, it's on the keli and not on the actual ma'asim of how they are. Okay, Next Mishnah on Samekim Lamud Aleph, the second Mishnah. It says over here like this: Hare alai batanur. If a person comes and he says, "I'm going to bring a mincha of the tanur," lo yavi ma'afeh kupach. Don't bring on a small tanur. Velo me'afer re'afim, or not something which is going to be baked in ra'afeh cheres. U'ma'afeh, right, yorot arviim, or that was going to be put in the pots of Arav, of Arabia. Rabbi Yehuda says, kupach. You could bring of the kupach, because it's also called a tanur. It's like a type of a tanur, the kupach. Right? Obviously, the tanur and the kupach was a difference that the kupach only usually had one pot that was able to be put inside of it, and the tanur had two usually. Right? If somebody says, I'm going to bring a minchat ma'afeh, so don't bring half chalot and half rekikin, right? But rather everything or chalot or rekikin. You remember we said that you can't bring half. Shimon Matir, he says you could because it's all one korban, so you could bring half without any problem. Tan Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. Says the Gemara, Ma'afeh tanur. When it says ma'afeh tanur, v'lo ma'afeh kupach, and not a kupach or rafim or ma'afeh yorot arvim. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, tanur, tanur. Why does it say tanur pa'amayim? Lachshir ma'afeh kupach, that the kupach is going to be okay. Rabbi Shimon says, no, tanur, tanur, shne pa'amim. One of them is shetei afiyatam batanur, and one of them is sheikdisham batanur. Right? One of them is for the actual afiyah, that the afiyah should be done in the tanur, right? And the other one is going to be that ikdishan batanur. What is ikdishan batanur? He says it's not extra. Okay? So he says, Umid le Rabbi Shimon Esfarad, does Rabbi Shimon hold this? Vatram, we learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Leolam eved ragil lomar, shte alechem velechem aprim ksherot ba'azara, uksherot bebet pagi. He says you could, a person should always say that if you're going to take the two shte alechem, remember, shte alechem is of shavuot, made out of wheat, and the lechem apanim, right, which is done every single Shabbat. It's going to be kosher if it's going to be done in the Azara, if it's going to be baked in the Azara, or if it's going to be baked in Bet Pagi. The Bet Pagi was outside of the Azara. Okay? So he comes and he says, so since Rabbi Shimon says that he's going to be mutar outside of the Azara, it doesn't have to be mekadesh et fabo. So because that's going to be yotzeh. So it means he doesn't hold of the svara she'ekdesham batanur. So Amar Rava comes and he says, Eima, you have to say she'ekdeshan leshum tanur, for a tanur, right? That he's doing it for the tanur, but not that it has to be inside the tanur and then it's going to become kadosh. But if not, it has to be inside of the Bet HaMikdash itself, inside of the Hechal. Okay? The next part of the Mishnah said that you shouldn't bring half according to Tanakama. Tanu Rabbanan meaning half chalot and half rekikin, right? Half chametz and half matzah. Tanu Rabbanan we learned to write right v'chit takriv keshetakriv la'asot advar reshut. We're talking about right now when it's going to be permitted to bring such a thing. So korban mincha. Rav Yehuda minayin leomer arei aray mincha ma'afesh levi mechza. Tamu lomar korban mincha. Korban echad amarti lecha. I only told you one korban and not two or three korbanot. Meaning, since each korban of the mincha was separate, if you're going to bring some of it chalot and some of it rekikin, it's ki'ilu you're bringing two different korbanot. They're all menachot, but one's a minchat Masechet, minchat machavat, so it's ki'ilu you're bringing different korbanot. And we only said you could bring one korban. Amar lo Rabbi Shimon, says Rabbi Shimon, Tzarich Gimel Mubet, 63b. וכי נאמר קורבן קורבן שני פעמים, does it say שני פעמים קורבן? ולא נאמר קורבן, it only says once קורבן, או קורבן אחד. ונאמר בו חלות, רקיקין, it says חלות אין רקיקין. So מעתה, so from now, רצה להביא חלות, מביא, רקיקין, מביא, whatever you want, you can bring. מחצה חלות, מחצה רקיקין, מביא, you can also bring a half. ובעולם וקומץ משניהם. ואם קמץ ועלה בידו מאחד על שניהם, if you brought one and two of them, יצא, you're going to be יצא לחובתו. רבי יוסף ורבי יהודה אומר, מניין לא אומר, הרי עלי מנחת מאפה, שלא יביא מחצה חלות ומחצה רקיקין, that you shouldn't bring half חלות and half רקיקין. תלמוד לומר comes teach you, וכל מנחה אשר תאפה בתנור, וכל נעשה במחשב במחווה לכהן, המקריב אותה לא תהיה, וכל מנחה ולא בשם ובחרבה לכל בני אהרון תהיה, מה וכל האמור למטה שני מינין חלוקין, אף כל האמור למעלה שני מינין חלוקין. That it's always going to be two different species, so 2 years it's going to be two different species. Rabbi Yehuda Shapir Kamar Rabbi Shimon. It's good according to Rabbi Shimon. Amar lecha, he's going to tell you, Keman dichtiv, since it's written Bashemen, right? Keman dichtiv Korban Dami. Ki'ilu, since it's written twice, Bashemen, it's Ki'ilu written twice, Korban. And Rabbi Shimon is going to tell you, Iloktiv Bashemen Shemen, I would have had a Havamina, Davka Mechza Chalot Mechza Rekikin. But Chalot by itself, Urkikin lechudayu, I would say you're not allowed to bring it. Kamashmanan comes to teach you, right, that when it says the word Bashemen, it could be either or, but not half. Meaning you could bring either full rekikin or full chalot, but you cannot bring chetzi. Okay, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Hainu Avua. So it's Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda is like the father. So it says the difference between them is b'diavad. B'diavad means only post factum, right? Not lechatchila. There's going to be a difference between lechatchila and b'diavad. That's going to be, but if not, they're the exact same shita, really. Be'emet. Tadran alach. Kol Menahot. Okay, fine. Next Mishnah. Okay, we're starting chapter 6, Perek Shishi. Okay, a new chapter. Rabbi Shmuel says, Omer ayaba beShabbat mishalosh sein. They used to bring the Korban Omer even on Shabbat. Remember, this is like Sfirat Omer, right? So it's going to be the second day of Pesach, the 16th of Nisan. They're going to bring it even on Shabbat from 3 sein of barley. Remember, Korban Omer is barley. Shtei Alechem is going to be wheat. Uvechol. And during the weekday, it's going to be from 5 sein. Chachamim say, no. Whether it's Shabbat or Chol, Selam is a bidiyuk otodovar. 3 sein, that was the measurement. Meaning there's no difference between Shabbat and Chol, how much of the measurement that's going to come. Shabbat in Iksar biyachid, it used to be done with one person, with magal echad and with one sickle, right? With kupa achat and one like basket, right? And during the Chol, it used to be done with 3 people. three kupot, three magalot. Chachamim omrim, no. Echad Shabbat, echad v'chol, doesn't matter whether it's weekday or Shabbat, it's always going to be three people, three kupot, and three magalot, three baskets and three, how do you call them? And three sickles. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara. Yeah, he says like this. Bishlama Rabbanan. I understand according to the rabbis. Kasavre Isaron Muvchar Bishushasinata, that they're going to come and they're going to say that the Isaron is going to come from three Sein. Veloshna Bechol, Veloshna Beshabbat. There's no difference between Chol and Shabbat. Ela Rabbi Shmuel, but according to Rabbi Shmuel, my Kasavra, what does he hold? I Kasavre Isaron Muvchar Lo Ati. He comes and he says, if you're going to come and you're going to tell me that Isaron Muvchar, it's not going to come. Ela Mechamesh, only from five. Meaning, when you have five Sein, so then it's going to come Isaron Muvchar, that's when you're going to have it. So Afilu B'Shabbat Nami, so even a Shabbat will be the same thing. V'yim Shalosh Ati, if you're going to tell me it's going to be three, so Afilu B'Chol Nami, so even if it's going to be during the weekday, it should be the same thing. So Amar Rava comes and he says, Kasavar Rabbi Shmuel hold, Isaron Muvchar Belo Tircha. We're talking about an Isaron solid of Muvchar without a Tircha. Ati Mechamesh is going to come from five, the Tircha, right? Ati B'Shalosh, right? So therefore he says like this. If you're going to tell me that you want an isaron of solet muvchar without tircha, you need five sein. If you want with tircha, it's going to be three sein. Bechol, during the weekday, you're going to bring it from five. Teachi shvicha minta, but then it's better because you're going to come do it that way. Beshabbat, mutav shi'arbeh b'melacha achat barkada, v'al yarbeh b'melachot rabeh. But on Shabbat, it's better that you do one melacha than doing so many melachot, meaning if you're going to come and you're going to put it from so many melachot, you're going to have to do ketzira, zriya, the borer, tochen, minapeh. You're going to have to do more. So it means it's better that you're doing one melacha more than another than so many other melachot. One more time, right? I have to take out one isaron. Everyone's with me? I have to take one isaron. When I'm going to take this one isaron, I have to make it the best of the best, fine flour. So now, the more flour that I have, the easier it is for me to get fine flour, right? And I don't have to do so much tedious work. If you only have three seeing, it's very difficult to get to one isaron, full good flour. You have to mamash work on it a lot. If you get five, it's easy. So he says like this: during the weekday, it's better to get five, so it's easy to get the one isaron of fine flour. On Shabbat, if I'm going to bring five sein, I have to do much more melachot on five sein. I have to do the zorea, the tochen, not the zorea, the kotzer, the zoreh, borer, tochen, right, menapeh. Look how many melachot I have to do. So it's better that I'm going to do less melachot. So I'm only going to do three, even though on one melacha I'm going to have to do more. So one melacha of the harkada, which is basically that I'm going to do, miraked, I'm going to come and I'm going to make sure that I do it. It's better that I do that one melacha than to come and to do so many melachot on it. So Amar Rabba says, they both said the same thing. Titania, as we learned in the Braita, when you have the 14th of Nisan that comes out on Shabbat, you strip the Pesach until the chest. Chachamim said, no, you completely skin it, the entire thing. You don't do tircha whatsoever. Meaning, why do you want to do more tircha on Shabbat? So do the entire thing. So to do it. So he says, Samimai. How do we know this then? So he says, Dilma kalo kamar bishmael hacha ela deleka bizayon kochim. There's no bizayon kochim. Aval hatam, to do the korban pesach, there's a bizayon kochim. Meaning, if you're going to wait until the nighttime and it's going to be muvshat chetzio, it's like ki'ilu, it looks like a nevela. So because of that, it looks like a nevela. So therefore, they would say like Rabbanan, that he holds like the Rabbanan. Inami, or if the one you could say, it was done for Hashem. You don't need to be mechalel Shabbat. אבל הכה by here to do with קורבן העומר, דלא יתביא לצורך קבוע. You don't need it for Hashem. וצריך לחול לשבת. And you need to be mechalel Shabbat. Maybe באמת he holds like the rabbi. So we continue with Hashem tomorrow.